This absolute delight is a 1978 Triumph Spitfire 1500 that I picked up for just £175. I'm not entirely sure why it was so cheap. I mean, it looks almost brand new. This car hasn't run in I don't know how many years, but judging by the state of it, I'm going to hazard a guess at a lot of years. Now, I actually picked this up from Copart of all places. My plan for this car, basically, I think, is to just get it to run one more time, get it to run enough where I can drive it up and down this driveway a couple of times. I think it's too far gone to ever get back on the road, and I'm going to do this for no other reason than I think it would be tremendous fun. And so if you're new here, welcome. Frankly, you need to know that I'm not a trained mechanic. I have never worked on one of these cars before. I know almost nothing. I'm just an enthusiast like many of you guys, and I find this all incredibly fun. So I think the first thing that we need to talk about is the interior, or to be quite honest with you, the absolute lack of interior. I don't know what's happened to it, but it very much looks as though this car has kind of just been, I don't know, has it been in a scrap yard, or it's certainly been at the back of someone's yard, and it's clearly just been used, it's been used as a dustbin. Now, I'm not 100% sure, but I don't think that belongs on this car. Oof, I mean, look at it, it's rough, it's really rough. We're missing the shroud, I suppose it's called, over the gearbox, so you can just see down there, that's the ground. You can also see the ground through many other parts of this car, to be honest with you, because there are just multiple holes where it's just absolutely rotted through. You can see there the floor, we're bordering on Flintstone car here, to be quite honest with you. It's fragile. I don't think this car's ever going to go back on the road. It needs so much welding. We're missing something here. Windscreen, that's what it is. We're missing a windscreen. I can see here for the first time, actually, I'm just noticing this now, this metal here at the base of the windscreen there, that's folded. I imagine what's happened is someone's pushed this car using the windscreen like that, and that's just taken the brunt of it. I mean, the outside is all, it's just crusty. It's got holes in it. The seals have gone completely along there. I mean, what it does look like, to be honest with you, this looks very much like someone did come in here at some point with an angle grinder, and they've taken the paint off, probably to start some repairs. Or actually, that looks like in there, that looks like it has been repaired. That looks like a little bit of welding under there that's now fully rusted over. So maybe someone did start on this car, because they've done it all the way along there, over there. Looks like someone went to make a start doing a load of welding on this car and then just abandoned it and gave up. Front's probably the best part of the car, only it's just loads of these little marks where someone's tried to, looks like they've just gone to start repairing it and then just fully gave up. We've actually got a fuel tank. It just smells heavily of varnish. It's got all the gauges there, I think. And then obviously this is the 4-speed manual, so that's not too bad. Loads of cables all hanging down there. I don't have anything for this. I have no paperwork, absolutely no history. I don't know anything about this car, just absolutely nothing. When you buy a car on Copart, that's often the case. Anything in here, I've never even looked. Oh, what's this? Oh, what's this? Some kind of little mouse house. This looks like could have been. Is this the interior for this car? If it is, it's dead. I think these are all just parts off other cars, if I'm honest. What's that? It's a heat shield for something. Will genuinely come in handy. That's a good can. We'll save that for sure. I've got some 10W40. I can see the ground through there. See the ground down there. Yep. So all in all, so far, a great purchase. Now, I have not looked at it. How do you get off? Oh, I've never looked at it. What is it though? What have we got? Right. Amazingly, everything looks like it's here. Unlike the interior of the car, it looks completely unmolested. Absolutely everything apart from a battery, and it doesn't look like any of these wires have been nibbled at or anything. This is this is very good news. Okay, here we have it. Got two carbs. They're SU carbs. I'm not sure which variety. Ow! Oh, right there on my back. Brave face, brave face. I've got a feeling if we're going to do anything to this car whatsoever, carbs are probably going to need rebuilding to some kind of degree. But yeah, look, everything, absolutely everything is here. Do we have any oil? Where's the dipstick? Ah! There's oil in there. Doesn't smell of fuel, just smells of oil. And then around this side we can see got an alternator, distributor still there, all the plugs, an old, very old looking crusty filter, starter mode. I mean, look how easy this car's going to be to work on. You can just look at, that's the start. Everything is, it's tiny. If you haven't gathered that yet by looking at this is tiny and there's a lot of access, so this shouldn't be too bad. Well, I don't know why I just said that. I shouldn't have said that. Even got a coil, look. Right. Shall we see if this engine is seized? I really hope not. Right. Let's get in here. So I'm just going to try and spin the engine over on the fan. It's such a small, tiny little fan. It's very cute. Uh-oh. Okay, let's try and get a socket on the crank bolt. So the crank bolt on this is, I can't remember what it is in Old English, but it's basically the equivalent of a 46mm crank bolt, which is absolutely ginormous. I bought this ahead of time, obviously, because this is always a concern when you buy these cars that, oh, well, how's that going to get in there then? Now, I've only got a couple of tools with me. The others are back at the workshop. I should probably have bought them. And if you're wondering why I'm not in the workshop right now, it's because the workshop is full. And I also didn't want to have to pay for more transport to get this over there, so we're back on the driveway. I don't have the correct tools to get these hoses off. None of these Jubilee clip type things, they're all broken. So, but I think I can lift the radiator up just enough to be able to now get in there with my bar and try and get on that socket. Right, and so before I go absolutely crazy on the crank bolt, I think if I just pull some of these spark plugs out, well, not some of them, let's pull all of them out. I'm going to put a little bit of I think I've only got ATF, a little bit of ATF, just a tiny bit in there, just to give it a tiny bit of lubrication so we don't completely ruin the cylinders if they're not already completely ruined. And I'm pulling these off now. Those spark plugs look absolutely brand spanking new. Look at them, look. It's the only thing on this car that looks to be in half decent condition. So I wonder if someone, whenever this was parked up, was starting to try and get this car running and then put these on, and then that was that. I don't know. Uh-oh. The spark plugs. Oh, I don't want to come out. Yeah. Oh, it's always going to happen. Oh, okay, they're not brand new, they are. They're used. You can see that it looks like this car was actually running rich. Focus! Looks as though this car was running rich. Right, so what I've got here is a boroscope flexible flexi head camera majigger McThingy, and I'm just putting this down into the spark plug holes to see what we've got. And you know what, well, at least on this cylinder, that doesn't look too bad, I don't think. Okay, so there we go. That's the top of the piston there. If I kind of move that around, so that's the top of the piston, and if I kind of just move that around in there, it doesn't look like there's any rust, and the cylinder walls look okay. Okay, and there is cylinder 2. I'm so sorry, this is for difficulty to see. I've got all my hands full. Doesn't look too bad. Cylinder 4 wasn't too bad. Now the only thing that I've got to put down those cylinders is ATF that I left in the shed. No, wait a minute, it's not, is it? We've got this out of the boot. Let's put a tiny little bit of this down each cylinder, and then let's try spinning the engine on the crank socket. Oh, what a touch. It's amazing the things that I did remember to bring and the things that I didn't remember to bring. Funnel, yep. Actually, you know what, I'm never gonna get, that's too fat. That's never going to work. I'm never going to get oil into there with what I've got. So I think what I'm going to do actually is just spray some of this penetrant in there, just a little bit. And we're leaking coolant down there by the looks of it, where I've disturbed this radiator. Oh, there's coolant in the engine then, or there's water at least. Let's just give this a little bit of, don't want to flood it, or just a suggestion of penetrant. Right, let's try and turn this engine over. Please, 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 please. Please don't be seized, properly seized anyway. Okay, go on. Oh no. Oh. It just went. Will you go again though? Oh, get out of the way. Radiator. Okay, go on. Spin. Spin. Yes. Right, so look, the crank's spinning, but the fan isn't. So that water pump has got to be seized. The engine was a little bit stuck there, but that's now broken free, which is a complete result. I'm not going to have to spend 17 days trying to soak it in all sorts of mystery fluids. Get in there! See if I can just get it through a couple of rotations. Oh, yes. Right, go on. Yeah, that's quite easy. That's moving quite freely now. Oh. Ah! Help! Ow! Foot stuck. Oh my word! Ow! What have you done to my funnel? Oh. Oh, that properly dug into me, that bit there, that rusty bit of... Have I had my tetanus? Ow. I'm okay. I've got a funny feeling that's not going to be the first time I catch myself on this bonnet. Right, so plan of action now. I'm going to order up a load. I'm going to order up a load of parts now. You know, just kind of service items, oil, spark plugs, points. Probably a rebuild kit for the carbs, in the hope that I don't actually have to use it. Coil, you know, bits and bobs like that. I want to get these bits ordered. and then then let's reconvene when they arrive. So it's a few days later, I've ordered some parts, they've come in, and one thing that I've instantly realised that I didn't check a few days ago when I really should have done is to see if this starter motor even works, because if this starter doesn't work, I'm going to have fallen at the very first hurdle. So I think what I'm going to do, if I stick a battery in real quick, which I've got just here, so if we put a battery in, and then basically just try and crank it and see what we get. But the first thing that I'm seeing is actually that this positive battery cable, I mean, it's not there. There's nothing left of it really. So I think first things first, I'm going to replace this battery terminal. Have we got keys? You know, I've never even checked to see if we've got keys. Of course we don't have keys. That ignition barrel has been drilled out. So yeah, shouldn't be too much of a problem. We just have to hot wire it like we're in Fast and Furious or something. So let me replace this, and then we'll try and get it started. So all my tools were at the workshop. I've gone and gathered just kind of like a random selection of tools this morning, chucked them kind of in a box and bought my tool set. Undoubtedly I've forgotten something without question, so this is going to be quite fun. And when I say quite fun, what I actually mean is not when I realise that I've missed tools. So I had this in the workshop that should really just, where did I just put that cable? Reuse this terminal, because obviously I've forgotten to get a new terminal. I have been oh, hello, Mr. Butterfly. You don't want to come in here. I've been so excited to work on this car. Like, I've just been literally thinking about it as I as I go to sleep. I don't know if that makes me just really sad, but there's something about working on these old cars, these proper classic cars like this, that's just so joyful and rewarding. I love it. I really love it. Oh, that's snapped. That's good. Oh, great. Right, so that's on. Give it a bit of negative action. See if it sets on fire, I suppose. Sparks. Seem to be okay. Okay, that's good. Okay, so no key. So we have got a starter solenoid here. So, well, that's not very tight, is it? I've got my remote starter. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to plug into that solenoid. All right, come on in, you cheeky old bib. Let's see if we can do something with you. So I'll just unplug that, do you think? No harm in trying. Oh God, this solenoid is not in good condition. Does anything happen? Are they the right switches? Ready? Think this through. Have you connected that correctly? The solenoid. Yeah, I mean, look at that though. Okay, so I'm going to be real naughty right here. I'm just going to take the positive cable, the positive cable, and I'm just going to touch it straight to the positive terminal on the solenoid that goes straight to the starter. So it's going to completely, this is just going to, I can't even think of words. It's going to bypass the solenoid and we're just going to go straight to the starter off the battery. Please work, because I'd much rather replace a solenoid than a starter. Yes, the starter works. Hang on, that's, oh, it's terrible. good news, starter works. But obviously you saw there, obviously nothing was spinning, the alternator wasn't spinning, the fan wasn't spinning, because that's all seized up. So I don't want to do that again, because that's just going to cause all manner of problems. So I think I need to replace this solenoid then, by the looks of it. That's not working. Now, I think I've actually got one of those solenoids that looks identical almost to the one when I did a Ford Zodiac. I think I've got one. So let's try and fit that now. Where do I put this positive cable without it going? I did check this engine had oil, didn't I? I must have done the other day, surely. So there's the solenoid. You can just see how kind of gammy it is. I'm sure something's gone wrong with it. What goes wrong with these, I'm not sure exactly, but you can see right here, that's the replacement, brand new unit. So what, that goes like that. So let me swap these out. Let me swap these out, and then let's see if I can connect the remote starter to this and trigger the starter motor properly. Okay, so that is the new starter solenoid in. Got my remote starter hooked up, and I know it's already working because I have the light on. So if I push this now, do we get the required result? Perfect. Also, it's really hot today, so you're gonna have to excuse this multiple times in the video, I imagine. I say really hot for England. And the next thing is, I don't know, because I haven't got that far in my thought process. So we need to stick to the basics. That's what I do know. And the basics of any engine for combustion, you need spark. Almost forgot, that was good. Spark, fuel, and air, right? So we know we've got electricity to the starter motor. We know the engine turns over. I think what I am going to do before actually visiting the basics is, if I try and start this engine many more times with this belt dragging on here, I think we're going to be in for a world of pain. So what I want to do now is, I think I'm going to actually pull this radiator. Ow! Look, we're in that danger territory again. Stop, please don't. So I'll actually pull this radiator out properly, or properly-ish, at least so I can get to here. I'm going to pull, basically I think I'm just going to pull the water pump out, because that looks to be seized solid. Maybe if I pull the radiator out, might be able to unseize it with a bar or something. That's wonky, isn't it? The alternator there is wonky, but that shouldn't affect us too much for our purposes. Where does it even mount? Where do you mount? Oh, there, you're right in front of my face. Oh, that's bent, that's right. Okay, cool. The alternator mounting bracket's bent. Fine, I'll live with it. Let me pull this out, see if we can't do something with this water pump first. All of these Jubilee type clip thingies are just completely seized, but you can take the screws out. So I'm doing that and then bending the rest of the clip off. Like that. It's not a screwdriver, don't worry. Oh, wait a minute, yes it is. Come on! Yep. Right, let's get to the front of that now. Okay, can we spin you somehow with a little bar? Maybe not. No, it's just not gonna, is it? Just remove it, Nino, just remove it. Don't want to damage the fan. So I have actually gone ahead and I bought a replacement, because we all know it's just seized. Is this got a gasket in there? Oh, I haven't got any like RTV or anything with me. Am I going to need that? Let's hope not. That looks to be the same. So new water pump. That hopefully doesn't give me too much grief taking it out. Why did I say that? Easy, easy. Easy. Yeah. 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 Actually, I'm just going to give it a good bit of penetrant, if I can get it in there, just to help ease the process. This stuff is the best penetrant I've ever used. Liquid moly, rust solvent, not sponsored or anything like that, don't worry. You can buy this on Amazon. I'll leave a link to that in the description below. I highly recommend it. I've used it on all of these rusty old pieces of junk, and it is just a really decent product. Yep. Perfect. So here's the pump that I've just pulled off. Properly, fully, 100% seized up, and this is the new pump. Absolutely 100% not seized up. So I'm going to put that new pump in, but first I'm just going to kind of clean these mating surfaces, mating faces there. What does it look like in there? Yeah, it's not too bad. I'm just going to clean that out with a bit of a wire brush and that, put that new gasket in, and then fit that new pump in. Right, and there we have it. The new water pump is installed and it is spinning. How delightful. Now I know what a few of you are thinking. You're thinking, oh, Nino, you've forgotten to put the fan belt back on. Here is said fan belt. It's looking a little bit worse for wear, I'm not going to lie to you, but in the service kit that I purchased for this car, you get a new fan belt. So I'm just going to put this one on. Wait, hold on, this new belt is toothed, whereas the old belt isn't, and none of these pulleys are toothed. Does that matter? Can you run a tooth belt on a smooth pulley? Okay, so what you can see there is not the new belt fitted, but the old belt installed, because that new belt was categorically too small. So I've just reinstalled the old one, tightened up the alternator. Now this is just a fan belt. I mean, it literally drives the water pump and the alternator, and as I'm not exactly traveling from here to, say, the south of France, if this breaks, it's not going to be catastrophic if I'm just stood next to it trying to get the car running. So if it does break, I will have to sort a new one, obviously, but for now, for our purposes, that actually should be okay. Right, so I just want to really quickly check that get on there. So I want to really quickly check that the engine spins. I imagine this is going to throw water everywhere, but oh, sounds healthy to begin with. Lovely. Yeah, right, that's all good. So now I'm just going to put the fan back on, put the radiator back in, and then we're at a good place then, I think, to check for spark, I imagine. Actually, did you hear how much easier that engine turned over then with that new pump on? Lovely. Jolly, 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 jolly. Actually, while I've got the radiator off, I can just clean up those timing marks, because then if I do need them, then I'm going to be able to see them. Did I just plan ahead? Wow! You can see them as well. That's jolly. So I've just come to refit the radiator, and you see that in there. Look at that, look, oh, there. It's some kind of, well, it's the old coolant, isn't it? It's gone like jelly. So I'm just gonna pull all that out. Just gonna pull that out so that it doesn't at least flush that through the system. Whether it's anywhere else in the radiator or the cooling system, I don't know, but let's definitely get the bits that I can see. So actually, I think before I fit this back into the car, it makes sense, doesn't it, just to try and flush this out, because I don't know what's in this radiator. So may as well just, while it's here, see if this does anything. Oh yeah, look, big chunks of it, massive great chunks of it coming out. I'm going to wait for that bottom hose there to run clear, and then she can go back in the car. Oh, it is warm. Oh, I haven't felt that 90s in a long time. Oh yeah. I can hear my mum, don't do that. I mean, the chances that that stuff is in the engine as well are going to be high. I'm just going to make my working environment awful now, aren't I? Oh well, it'll dry up quick enough. No. 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 Oh, that's painful. Why is it that doing the right thing often doesn't work out for you? I mean, borderline wants to make me live a life of crime. So I just thought to myself, right, actually do the right thing. That pulled that hose off there, out of the thermostat. There was some rust in there. This thing's quite rusty. So I got the rust out of there, and then I saw that there's a connector down here. So it's this pipe here, look, you can see the Jubilee clip on it. Well, that's just rusted off. So the end bit of pipe is still very much in the rubber hose, and it's just sheared off of this pipe here. So that pipe, that's the one that goes underneath to the water pump. So now whatever you put in here and you pump, this water pump pumps through, it's just going to absolutely spew out of there. That is just rusted clean off. I can see, it's hard for you to see, but it's just rusted. There's just a hole in the metal pipe. Right. So what I'm going to do now is completely ignore it and then worry about that when it comes time to put some water or coolant in this engine. What would my gangster name be? Right, El Nino, something like that, wouldn't it? You know, like Al Capone, El Nino. Right, so that's the radiator all installed, the fan's back on, the water hoses are back on, but for no good reason really, because it's all just going to pour out of that hole down there. What I would like to do now is I want to see if we've got any spark, and I want to do this the lazy way. If I just connect my remote starter there, where's the handle? I'm going to connect my remote starter, put that there, and then I'm just going to shoot some easy start into the intake and crank. I think that's probably the easiest way, isn't it? Because obviously we don't have fuel. Where's best to put you? I just want to see if she just kind of like barks off just a little bit, if she coughs. If not, then further diagnosis will be required. So does this still crank? Starter sounds lovely. Oh. Was that a bark? Was that a cough? Was it a coffee cough? I mean, who knows if this air filter's all clogged. Oof. I think that's barking off. Just a little bit, just a tiny bit. It's not happy. The starter motor absolutely is, well, the starter motor is absolutely furious with me. I'm going to pull off, can I get that off? I'm going to pull off this air filter and see if I can't squirt a little bit of easy start into the actual carbs a little bit easier, because I don't know if this is all clogged up maybe. All right, let's try this again. Son of a, that is hot. Why is that so hot? Ah, why is that so hot? Wow. Wow. Is this what's hot? No, it's that. Is that the windscreen wiper motor? Shall we unplug it? I think the wipers are trying to be on. Wow. Burnt my arm. You know, it is quite difficult to know what might be on or not. I mean, obviously, you know, the wipers are still attached. There's no noise from the motor, but you know, we've got some wiring issues. Yeah, something not good. But that is absolutely scalding hot. I wonder how much of a draw that was on the battery. All right, let's try this again. Cough, cough, bark, bark. We have some spark. Hey, that rhymed. Should we try and get some fuel into her? So we want to get fuel into the engine. I think the plan of action is, so this is the fuel pump. And you can see down there, look, there's a very old filter that goes down there. It will run under there somewhere, and you can see the tank. You can see the tank there. I'm not going to put fuel in there for now, at least. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this hose off here. I'm going to put my own hose on, a new hose on. Run it out of a boat tank that I've got. Run some fresh fuel out of a boat tank into this existing fuel pump, and then that pumps up there. You can see there's a fuel line goes along the back of the engine at the top. Fuel line comes around there, goes into this bowl. So you can see there. So these, did I say these are HS4 carbs? Oh, actually, while I've got you, look, a really great tip. So with it, if you're working on anything with SU carbs, the company that owns SU carbs is called Berlin, and they're still around, and they still make all of the parts pretty much for almost all of the carbs they've ever made. Certainly all of the 60s and 70s and 50s stuff. What you want to do though, is if you want to buy a service kit or anything, or any parts for these carbs, your best bet isn't actually to go online or and search for HS4 carb bits, because there's just so many different versions, and they put HS4s on quite a lot of different cars. What you want to do instead, hopefully your carbs have this, but on both of the float bowls you should see as a tag, you can see there that I've cleaned that one off, and that says FZX1258F. And then there's another one here, and I imagine that'll be the same. It'll end in R, and that basically means front and rear, I think, or something to that effect. Yeah, look, that says R. I don't know if you can see that. So front and rear. If you call Berlin, they have got one of the most incredible technical sales teams. The guys really know their stuff. They're not paying me to say this, but I call them. I've called them a good few times, and they're just amazing. If you give them that tag number, they'll be able to tell you exactly, precisely the parts that you need, including, the type of the needles and the jets and absolutely everything, and they'll get you the right parts. So I ordered I ordered a service kit for both of these carbs, and I was very nearly going to go on the website and just go HS4s, but when you call them up, it's like, no, you need this particular HS4 with this particular set of needles and but they really know their stuff. So that's just a little bit of a tip for you if you find yourself buying parts. Just don't try and search for it online. Just pick up the phone, and they'll give you all the proper part numbers and everything. Anyway, where was I? Bit of sidetrack there. So it goes into that bowl, and then this fuel pipe goes around there and then into this second bowl. Now, I haven't pulled the float lids off. It's entirely probable that the needle and seat is probably clogged up, and I've got a funny feeling that as soon as we try and pump any fuel into them, provided the fuel pump's even working, these fuel bowls will overflow. Now, I'm not going to pull them apart now and have a look, because in an ideal world, I don't actually use any of the parts that I've got. I'd very much like to kind of get this car started and drive it down the driveway and send as many of the parts back that I haven't used as is humanly possible, because there's no point spending more money than you need to. So if I don't have to replace any parts in here, happy days really. Okay, there we are. So I've got my fuel line connected there. That comes down here. I've got my squeegee thinger, goes into the boat tank. So I'm just going to prime this, just pump a bit of fuel. Okay, can you hear the air kind of like coming out of the fuel pump? Okay, have you got fuel then? Is that gone around the system? There might be the oldest fuel knocking around in those bowls yet. I'm not sure. Anyway, right. There's nothing really for it but to just try cranking on it and see if this pump pulls in any fuel from this tank. Let's see what happens. Let's have a look. Let's have a look. Starter. I've just noticed as well I haven't put my fuel filter in. Oh well, it'll be alright for a sec. I know that's cleanish fuel. I'll put one in a minute. No, put one in now. Okay, fuel filter in. And I can see, because I've got that fuel filter in now and it's got a clear case, there's no fuel being pumped, I don't think, by this pump. Now, there's going to be an easy way to tell if that pump is a pumping. Okay, so I'm pretty sure that the fuel pump is pumping because I've just pulled that connector off there into the top of the bowl and fuel spilled out. But we can just be double check just by giving it one really quick little... Yeah, that fuel pump is a pumping. So, right, so we know we're getting fuel from the fuel pump into the top of this bowl. Now, what could be happening, like I said, is the needle, sorry, it's terrible this camera sometimes. Into the top there, that might be stuck. The needle and the needle and seat valve thinger in the top of the bowl, stopping fuel getting into the bowl. Could be that, or it could be that there's fuel in this bowl, but you see there, the connection between the bowl and the jet, this could be, there could be loads of sediment built up in the bottom there. This pipe here could be all gummed up. The bottom of the jet here could be all gummed up, and that's stopping fuel getting in through there, into the bottom there, up into the carb, and then obviously into the engine. So all I'm really going to do is I'm just going to chase the fuel supply through the system, see where we're getting it to, and then we'll kind of know where our problem is. Well, not kind of know, we should know exactly. Okay, so I've pulled the float lids off, the front one there and this rear one, and that is some really funky looking and smelling fuel in there. So I'm not 100% sure yet if fresh fuel was getting into here. I think it may have been, although it wasn't overflowing. So, and I can actually see, that's going to be very hard for you to see maybe, I can see there's a lot of sediment in the bottom. So I think I'm going to drain that fuel out of both of those bowls, just have a bit of a clean out in there. You can see here's the needle and seat. I'm going to just clean up all in there with some parts cleaner, some brake cleaner, just to flush out any dirt that might be in there, preventing that from working. And I've pulled off as well the floats. This is the rear one, but you can see here's the front one, and you know this float is good because it's, well, floating. It hasn't taken on any water or fuel. There's no bubbles that come out when you do that. And then if we try this other one, you can hold it under, check for any bubbles. Look, it floats, and obviously give it a good shake. You'd be able to hear if there was feel if there was fluid in there. So you know both of the floats are good. So really, it's a bit of a clean-up operation at the minute. Just try and clear out any gunk. I can see when you lift these up, I can see there's no fuel getting in there. So I think my hunch is that there's a load of sediment in the bottom of these float bowls, probably in here, probably in the bottom of the jets, and this all just needs cleaning out just so fuel can travel through there unimpeded. So this is going to be a little bit of a clean-up operation. I'm going to pull all this apart as best I can, send some cleaner, brake cleaner or something through it, and then see where we get to. So I don't know, I do that influencer thing where you oh, it worked. You can see the tip there. That tip is quite worn. That is supposed to be way more it's have way more of a point to it. So I don't want to break it. I'm absolutely dying not to break into my kit, because my rebuild kit, because they are not cheap. I don't want to break into it for like one little part like that. So I've cleaned this out. I'm going to put that back in, and then if it actually starts not working and the bowls are overflowing, then I will replace it. But let's just carry on cleaning for now and just ignore that kind of thing entirely. Oh. It's just pure varnish that just came out of there. Lovely. Okay, I do apologise if the screen was blurry there. Hopefully that wasn't on there for too long. I noticed that there was some dirt on the old lens. So I've been through all of this, given everything thorough cleaning, a good old seeing to. So as you saw, there was a load when I sprayed with the brake cleaner through the jet there, and it came up out of the carb. There was a lot of varnish, a lot of yellow gunk all came out, and you can see it's still kind of finding its way out of both of the carbs there. So there was just so much sediment in the bottom of both of those float bowls there. But that's all cleaned out now as best as possible. I mean, like I said, I don't want to break into my rebuild kit, so I've even used the same old paper gaskets that were on there, just put everything back together exactly how it is. The needles are gonna just know. I cleaned them up as best I can with these on the car, and I'm pretty sure I'm probably going to have to rebuild these still if I want this car to run. Who knows, I'm not sure yet, but everything's connected back together. And I even, with my hand squeegee thing on the boat tank that's down there, I gave it a few pumps and made sure that there was none of that varnish left in this line, which there was. So I think what I'm going to do now is if I just prime the system again and see if I can get fuel now into those float bowls once more. You can see we've got fuel in the filter there, look, so I can hear it. Is it filling? Yeah, I think the bowls are filling now. Okay, let's see what you've got for me. Every single time. At least I'm being safe when working on the fuel system. Makes a change. Okay, what's going to happen? Anything at all. Nope. Nada. Are we getting any fuel into... Still don't think we're getting any fuel into the carbs there, which is mildly disappointing, to say the least. I wonder if that pump is actually pumping properly, or whether I need to do a little bit more, just a little bit more priming. Okay, I can hear fuel going in. In an ideal world, I'd see it start to overflow, or kind of overflow out of the carb bowl. That sounded like it was going to catch there, I think, maybe. Or maybe I'm getting this all wrong. Have we even got spark? Right, so I've got my spark tester fitted over here. I'm just going to crank and see what's happening. No spark. What a wally. So it didn't bark off the time before at all. I was absolutely lying. I lied to you. I lied to your faces. Right, so due to my complete and utter ineptitude, when I said earlier we had spark and it coughed, it absolutely did not cough. Couldn't have done, because my spark tester is confirming there is no spark. Doesn't matter, because I would have had to clean this fuel system out anyway. So we know we're getting, well, I hope we're getting fuel, or some fuel at least, into the carbs now, up into the bowls. That's not too bad. Right, now we need to backtrack and we need to attack spark once again. So we haven't made any ground, but we haven't lost any ground either. I was just being a bit of a wally, as usual. Don't forget, you can chart my entire automotive career from nothing to this point here by just going and looking at the first video on my channel. Don't do it right now. But I'm learning, I'm getting there. Slowly but surely. Righto. Time for the old multimeter. So we know we're getting 12 volts up into this solenoid, otherwise the starter wouldn't be going. A little bit, well, just 12 volts. Oh, is this battery need charging? Yep. So we're getting electricity, let's call it, an amount of electricity into the solenoid. The correct amount? No. An amount? Yes. And then do we have any electricity going to the coil? Let's have a look at here. Yes. So we got into the coil. So let's test the coil now. So unplug the coil. Yeah. Multimeter to ohms. And then you test the primary windings across the two small little terminals. And we've got 1.3 ohms, which I think is in spec. Yeah, between 1 and 2 ohms, I think that wants to be. And then you go from terminal 4, I believe, to terminal 1. And it should be in the region of 10,000 ohms. And we've got 5,000 ohms. So it looks as though this coil is probably bad. So let's start replacing this coil then. We've got the new coil installed there now. So there's nothing for it really other than to crank and see if we've got anything in there. Yeah, it would help, wouldn't it, if I actually connected. the remote starter. Well, that's spinning over a lot faster, but there was still no spark. I repeat, no spark. Okay, that starter. So the coil was bad. The coil's now not bad. So we need to keep chasing this electrical system all the way through. And I think let's start by popping this off. The distributor cap. What have we got in there? That has seen better days, hasn't it? The cap looks brand new, to be fair. But that rotor absolutely does not look brand new. And let's just crank it like that. Can't see a spark. You're not supposed to see a massive spark. That's actually, I believe, a massive spark is a sign of a failing condenser. That condenser looks like it's been in there for at least 17,000 years. So let's, should we just replace the points and the rotor? I think that's the and the condenser. I think that's probably the right thing to do, isn't it? Also, I had a little beer. Is it just us in Europe that gets these little French beers? We call them stubbies, or at least we call them stubbies, I think, down south in England. Do you get these? What do you call them? They are delightful. It's a lot later than you think. If you think it's morning and I've got a drinking problem, it's not. It's much later. It's at least 11 AM. And so there is a check that we can do with the multimeter just to make sure that these points are bad. What I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate the engine so that these points are open, so that this thing here rests on the high point of the cam in there. So it's a bit finicky. Okay, there. The points are open. And so what you can do is you can get your multimeter, you connect one of the thingamajigs to ground, and then you take the red lead and you put it at 0.1 on the coil, and with the points open you should get battery voltage. Et voila. Now rotate the engine until the points close, like so, and now you should get here, if you do this again, you should get 0. We're getting battery voltage still, so that means that this is dead. That's how you can confirm that. And there we have it, new points, condenser, and the rotor cap. So where's my old rotor cap? Oh, it's right there. But you can see the difference right there. So that's all cool. Now what I need to do is I need to set the gap with the points, so that those points need to be open by a very specific amount. And what you do, so I've rotated the engine, you can see that the cam is on the cam is on the high point of the lobe. So the points are open, and then well, look, there's this really cool data plaque here, and it says contact, I'm going off of this as well, contact break gap 0.14 quotations to 0.16 quotations, which in millennial is 0.35 mil. So that's a value I can work with, I understand that. And I've got these feeler gauges. Ooh. And so all you have to do is you get the 0.35 out of here somehow. 0.35, or look, you could even go in between 0.35. So you could not favour one or the other and go 0.38 mil. And then all you do is that you put that in there. Well, I mean, I've actually nailed it. That's actually perfect. If you get a little bit of resistance there on your feeler gauges, you know that the thickness there is perfect. That's absolutely perfect. How did I do that? I don't think I'll ever be able to do that again. But what you do is you undo this screw and then you basically move this around and it adjusts the cap. How have I managed to do that? 0.38. Wow. And so if I put the existing cap on, because the cap looks great, maybe that's one of the parts I can send back if I'm not going to need. Let me move that from there because, and you can see down there, I wasn't very happy with the points kit that I got. You get this wire, I had to cut the wire at this end and then re-put the connector on it, and then it's very taut, it's not long enough to get to the core. So I'm not a massive fan of that, but let's have a look at the, let's have a look to see if we get any spark. Whoa! Okay, so that fired, and we definitely got spark. That's the result. Boom! I'm not going to bother doing the multimeter test to confirm that the points are working, because clearly they are. And we got spark on the spark tester. All the things combined make it that we have spark. Have I said that? We've got spark.
We've got spark.
We've got spark. Come and watch this. Come here, little man. Come and look at this.
Yeah, he's excited.
Yeah.
Come on in.
Do you want to see this? Hey, look at this, look. Right, you ready?
Come on in.
You ready for this? You ready? Watch this. Watch this. You ready? You and everyone else, we're all watching. Wait, how do I turn the engine off? I'll take the spark tester out. How do I turn the engine off if it runs? Let me just think about this for a second, because I don't have an ignition. If I remove this from there, well, let's just work that out when we come to it. Are you ready? It wants to go, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Do you like that?
It's close, isn't it? Whoa, a bit smelling.
You dribbling?
Dribbling with excitement.
Oh, it really wants to go, doesn't it?
Very close.
The starter motor is not, and I repeat, is not happy. Go on! Well, almost. Did that spit right in your face? You've got fuel all in your mouth.
That was good, wasn't it? Daddy.
That was rough. Let's be honest. That could have gone better. It's actually really late now, and dinner's going to be ready shortly. So I'm going to put a pin in it for tonight. I'm going to revisit this first thing in the morning, which for you is going to be in about a second. Right, so it very much is not the next morning, it's the next afternoon now, and although it looks as though I'm wearing the exact same clothes, I can assure you I'm absolutely not. No, I'm actually not. This is a fresh set of clothes. I'm not like that. No, I don't know why I keep doing that. After the sweaty day I had yesterday, I can absolutely assure you these are not the same clothes as yesterday. Stop. Stop. Fresh clothes. Right, so the only thing that I've done is I replaced the positive battery terminal, because I managed to snap the existing one on there. So that's all just fitted up. That's just a battery terminal, no worries. So this engine is spitting fuel out of the carbs. Now, I've had this before on a car, it was a Rover P6, and that kind of backfiring like that, which is I think essentially what it is, or spitting out of the carbs there, that's quite often down to timing. And I think what happens is that the timing is off and the inlet valves are open when there's spark, and then that blows fuel and combustion stuff back out the way it shouldn't go. It's a very technical description of what's going on. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to see to the timing, but right before that I've got here 4 fresh spark plugs, and so I am going to fit these because my ignition kit, service kit that I bought has been broken into now. I have started using it, so I can no longer send any of it back, so I may as well just we've replaced the coil, we've replaced the points and the condenser. It makes sense now just to make sure that we know that, you know, all of this ignition system is actually nice. You may as well just fit new plugs, and then, you know, I think the leads are okay. Haven't replaced the leads, haven't replaced the cap, but while we've got these parts, may as well just fit them now. And then what we're going to do after these is I'm going to see to adjusting, or at least setting, the static timing on this engine. So there's one of the spark plugs that I've just pulled out. Looks like it's running fairly rich, but doesn't look too bad. Focus, 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 focus. Oh God. There you go, not too bad. Okay, so new spark plugs are in, and so what I want to do first is just check, well, just a sense check basically on the ignition. So just pop the cap off, and then what you should see if I turn the engine over is the direction of travel of the rotor is anti-clockwise. Absolutely right. So what I want to do is I just want to check the firing order. Now handily, again, on our little panel here, we can see the firing order. Can you get in there? Firing order is 1, 3, 4, 2. So now you can see that direction of travel anti-clockwise. We've got plug 1, then we've got the next one is plug 3, then after that we've got 4, and then after that we've got 2. So perfect, the firing order is bang on. Now what I have just noticed is that the timing is 100% been played with, because you can spin the distributor already, so the clamp bolt is loose. So someone's obviously been in here and already messed around with the timing. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to set the initial static timing of the engine. Kind of gives us a good place, like a baseline timing, which is a solid place to work from when we do smaller adjustments. Now there are a couple of ways to do this. There's a kind of more crude way of doing it, which is to kind of turn the engine over, try and get it running, spin the distributor at the same time, you know, and try and get it to a point where it starts running, and then adjust it slightly and then do it by ear. You can do it that way, but what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to give this the best shot from the beginning, and I'm going to follow the instructions in the manual. And so I've actually got a Triumph Spitfire 1500 repair operation manual for the 1978 model, which I picked up off eBay for just a few pounds. And so I'm going to do this literally by the book, and I've never done it this way before, so this will be interesting to see how it goes. And so all I need really here is a test light, a test lamp, which I've got here. And then this means for the millionth time I've got to disconnect, well, unmount this radiator so I can get to that crank bolt again. Oh yes, beautiful. I've removed the radiator, and you can see there, you can now see the notch on the sprocket. Now that is lining up with that last zigzag bit, which is 24 degrees before top dead center. And now as per the manual, you can see that this lamp is illuminated, so it's connected to that low tension lead and then round to the positive terminal on the battery. Okay, now I'm going to spin the engine by hand, and we need to watch this light for the exact moment it goes out. So I'm turning the engine ever so slowly, still turning there. So the lamp just went out. And then so if we go and have a look now at where that notch is, so that notch is actually 10 degrees after top dead center, so the timing is basically way out. That should be 10 degrees before top dead center, as you can see on there. So now I've got a balance of adjustments to make now with turning this and spinning the engine over, where that notch sits on about 10 degrees before top dead center, and this light is kind of just going out. So I'm going to make all those adjustments now. I might be here a while, who knows, and then we'll reconvene. Okay, so I just spun the engine over by hand, and I've lined up the marks on 10 degrees before top dead center. And now, so there's my test light, and so I've rotated this distributor anti-clockwise, and watch the light, because I only have to go a tiny bit more to recreate this. I'm going to turn this anti-clockwise, watch the light, There. I was turning that ever so slightly and that light has now gone out. And now according to Emmanuel, that should be the base timing set. I need to tighten down that clamp on the distributor and refit the radiator for the 100th time. Although I should probably just leave it off for now. And that's a good initial setting. Now, according to what I've read online in the forums and stuff, it's probably not the case that that this is going to be correct, the timing at 10 degrees before top dead center, because basically of modern fuels. Quite a lot of people saying actually have you know, run between about sometimes 14 and 12 degrees before top dead center. That amount of advance, 14 degrees of advance, because of modern fuels. I don't know the full ins and outs of it, but we could have to make some more adjustments yet to account for that. So I'm going to put this back together now, and I think we should just try cranking it again and see if we get a different result. Hopefully, hopefully we do. Just finishing my mini cheddars. This is the food and drink episode. Do you get mini cheddars anywhere outside the UK? Get online, buy yourself some mini cheddars. You won't regret it. I've opted not to put the radiator back in for the purposes of this, and I'm pretty sure if I just pull the supply to the coil off, that's how I can stop. So I can stop the engine in light of the fact that we don't have a key. I think that checks out. I haven't actually tightened the distributor down. That was foolish of me. Bear with. Got too distracted by my mini cheddars. Oh good. Oh good. Oh good. Where did that even go? How do you lose an entire Rocher? Oh. I mean, it couldn't get more in the middle of the car if it tried. Right, I am hoping this has made some difference and we can get the car, we'll get the engine to do something. It's worse. It's worse than before. Oh, good. Right, how's that happened? Is it getting any fuel, do you think? I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to adjust the distributor a little, just to see if that makes any difference whatsoever. Then we can try again. Nothing. Let's go back just a little bit. Start a motor, start a motor. It's trying. Oh, so hot. Help if I plugged in the spark plug back onto 2. It's trying, just twisting the distributor. Get in there. Let's get a bit more. Go on. You don't have to stay there, it's just a suggestion. Go on. electric shock. Yeah, that's my ignition switch. You are? Have you done it? Almost. Oh, it's so close. Hold on, and just a little bit more, I think. Right, we're so close, but this old girl has now run ever so slightly for the first time in, I honestly don't know how many years this car has been parked up, but that is such a nice thing to hear, that there is still some kind of life left in her. This is, I just can't think of a better way to spend your time. This is just the most fun thing I've ever done. So there's definitely going to be some adjustments we can make, I think, to the idle on the carbs, which I will look at in a sec, but I just kind of want to just keep going with this distributor just a little more, just to get it slightly smoother. Because that's rough, that is rough. Come on. Oh, this is cool. Oh, that's rough. But this is a good place now. This is a good place to properly get into it. And of course I don't want to run it for too long because there is no coolant in there and it is a hot day, although that wasn't long enough to do anything. Right, so as part of my service kit I have leads, the works. I might just start throwing bits at it now. Because I know that this is a runner, I don't mind spending the extra on the parts really. I know you can make adjustments on the carbs. Where exactly and how exactly, I don't know. So I'm gonna have to consult El Manuel one more time, but I am very happy. Come on. Okay, so what I have done is I've just replaced the distributor cap and the leads. I'm kind of glad I did now. I did say that the old rotor cap was actually, you know, in really good condition underneath, and it kind of is. But actually, when I went to pull these plugs out, the plugs started disintegrating, and there was a lot of corrosion in there. So you can see here, this is the end of one of the plugs after the wire came out of it, and you can see all of the green there around the outside. And so those connections in there, I mean, this was actually full of corrosion dust. So I mean, just put that in there with the rest of the stuff. So I haven't messed around with any of the idle mixture, none of the time, and the only things I've done is I've changed the leads and the cap. So let's just try and fire it up again and see if just those things there made any difference whatsoever. It'd be really cool if it did, wouldn't it? Where's my starter? Get on there. Oh, the coil's unplugged, that's why. Try again. No, that's no better, is it? It's worse. Right, okay, rough. Obviously I don't want to overheat this engine. Got some choice smoke coming out from down there, that's pretty cool. Stuff burning off of the exhaust manifold. Okay, that's pretty cool. Let's play around with the fuel. Actually, I'm not going to play around with the fuel. The engine is relatively warm. I mean, the ambient temperature is up there, and you know, I've run it a few times now. What I'm actually going to do before I'm going to replace the oil. I'm going to do an oil swap, change the oil filter, because there's no point bringing the old girl back to life only to instantly kill her. And you know, I know this car is the way that this car is, but you know, this will be a good parts car for someone. And if this engine runs, someone can buy this car, and you know, they know that this is probably going to be a good engine to, you know, rebuild, refresh, refurb, whatever. So let's look after it. Oh, good. Oh my God, I actually got the vast majority of it in the container this time. So this oil is, I mean, it's not bad, this oil. Doesn't seem to be any metal in there. Viscosity is probably a little bit wanting, but not too bad actually, not too bad. AC Delco. Oh, it's a little bit speckly actually. Yeah, there is a tiny bit of metal in there actually. Very small amount, but definitely metal. Cool. Right. So this is going to be interesting and fun. I think it takes about 4 litres this engine, but how I'm going to know it's 4 litres without constantly checking the dipstick, I've got no idea. Alright, this is 20W50, so as well, I don't know if you can see from there, but that is nice and thick. I'm pretty sure I've overfilled this, but hopefully when it gets pumping around the system, it'll go down a little bit in the sump, and it fills the oil filter up as well. So let's, am I all still connected? Put my ignition switch on, and I'm just going to crank her just to get the engine going again, just to get that oil around the engine. I mean, it's so close, isn't it? It's so close, really. Okay, it's not that close. I might have exaggerated. But we're getting there, I reckon, some smallish adjustments, and we'll start seeing this car right on its way. But what are those adjustments? Let's have a think. Okay, so there's a couple of adjustments that you can make on these SU carbs. So they have these screws here. There's one, it's hard to see. There's one screw there, and then there's a corresponding screw on the other carb right there, and that adjusts that's the idle speed setting. So basically you screw that screw down or up depending on where you want to go, and this here is the throttle, and that's going to push that whole kind of rocker assembly, spin it around. Now I don't think I've got an idle speed problem, because you've seen me now at this point, you know, open this and close this as I've got the engine going, and it's not making a massive amount of difference. So I'm hoping that, you know, this was set up right in the first place. I don't know, but another adjustment that we can make is on this other kind of pivot rocker assembly. Now if I turn this one, you can see the jet there, it's going to actually move down, and so when that moves down like that, I do believe that means that there's more fuel. You're going to richen the air fuel mixture going into the carb. So you move that down, more fuel can get into the carb. And you see they're on the linkage, and both of those jets there, they move together. and this whole assembly basically is the choke, I believe. But you can actually adjust these jets individually. So I think if I was to wind these down just a little bit, each one separately, it's going to give us a little bit more fuel, and I'm just going to see if that might be the cause of our problem. Maybe we don't have enough fuel. Otherwise, I think we're going to have too much fuel, and then you can wind them back in or up into the carb, and that will lean the mixture out. I think. This is just sort of stuff that I've read. I'm no expert. I'm also going to drop just a little touch of engine oil down into the damper there, because if you look at this, there's no damping occurring there. So a little bit of oil in both of these, and then and I've just adjusted the nut on the bottom, and then we'll try it again. Okay, has that made any difference whatsoever? Every time. A little bit rough, but right, that was a lot better. Right, so okay, I've done a thing. I've done a thing. Just adjusted it with my fingers there, just a tiny bit more. I've just given it a little bit more fuel, just see if that makes any more difference. Just trying to get that absolute sweet spot. Just for crying. That is lovely. That's lovely. Don't want to overheat it. Yes! Now let's address this cooling situation, shall we? So this is the water pump housing. The pipe in question is there. So it fits into this housing via these kind of, I don't know what you call them, couplings, bolts, nuts, fittings, whatever they are. So that, and then there's a hard pipe there. So that hard pipe goes there, you see where my hand is, and it runs right behind the carbs underneath the excruciatingly hot exhaust manifold. And then it comes up there and then back up to where you saw me break it off. So that ends up, this shadow just keeps chasing me. And then it ends up coming, and then this, then it ends up coming here, and then this rubber hose comes off of it, and so does this. It's kind of like a bit of a T-piece thing. Now, what I'm thinking is I'm wondering if I can pull that pipe out and then kind of cut a bit off, and then where that metal pipe scoots all the way down there and up there, replace it with a bit of rubber hose. This is going to be very difficult for me to show you. I think I'm just going to try and pull it out and then see if I can't fashion together a bit of a solution. So I'm not worried about this. This obviously goes into the heater. I'm not worried about any of this. In fact, you know, I'm more than happy to just completely and utterly bypass the whole heater situation. As long as I can just put some coolant in it and stop it leaking out, that's my goal here. So let's go! Whew, that was dangerous. I won't be doing that again. Come on. Come on. Oh, is that it? Please. Yes. Ah, come on. Ah. Here is said pipe. That was quite a bit of a pain to remove. I had to cut this hose and I had to cut a hose clamp off. I tried to apply heat, but then I set the float bowl on fire. So that was very much an abort mission kind of moment. I've had to cut this off, and anyway, right, look at this. There's that hole I was talking about. You can see where this pipe is just completely rotted through. So any coolant that I would have put in this car would have just gone. Okay, so here's where we're at. I chopped it off as close to that hole as I possibly could. And then it turned out that the heater hose that I brought with me is much smaller than this stuff. So I chopped out a section from there that went from there to there, and that's now on there like that. So I plan on fitting that back into that water pump housing, and then this is going to come up and join into this T-piece right there, and then you can see I've got 2 clamps on that hose for very boring multiple reasons I'm not going to get into. There's 2 clamps on there, so that's just going to cut off the supply there into that heater valve. So that's not going to go anywhere. No fluid's going to go up there. So really this is just going to go in a loop. So it's going to come from the water pump, it's going to go down like into the radiator, through the top of the thermostat, and then across there, and just in one loop like that all the way around, just completely bypassing any of the heater stuff. So I'm going to get this fitted back in, get the radiator back in, and then I think fill it with some liquids. Right, so that's everything fitted. The radiator is back in. It's been held in with one single bolt because I just can't be bothered with that radiator anymore. Who knows how many times I'm going to have to take it out. So for a little bit of coolant, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, is that the same funnel that you just used with engine oil? And the answer is yes. But don't worry, because I cleaned it out. No, I did. I definitely cleaned the funnel out. Okay, right. Shall we see how many leaks that I have? Let's crank the engine. I haven't put the cap back on yet. I was going to see if it circulates. I mean, I don't know if the thermostat's going to open. Who knows? Where's my starter? And let's just crank her and see what happens. Oh, it's hot. It's hot. Yeah. Oh. Plug the other end of this in. Who let me work on cars? That starter. I know I keep saying it, but so just doing that in lieu of a choke. Give it a bit more fuel on starter because the engine has gone cold by now. I've not even checked to see if there's any smoke. Ha! Look at that, absolutely zero smoke coming out of this thing. Nothing whatsoever. Wow, she's gone a little bit lumpy again, hasn't she? And amazingly, my new cooling system doesn't have any leaks whatsoever. Okay, so now that the engine is up to temperature, what I did is I turned it off and I adjusted the jets on the bottom of the carbs again, and it's running really smoothly now. That's lovely. And the thermostat opened and everything's just working lovely. Ladies and gentlemen, this car, or this engine is running now. Wow. Now, is it a crazy idea to try and drive this car? Yeah, maybe. Maybe. I'm gonna attempt it. I'm not gonna put much time into attempting this because there's no point in this car. I'm not driving any distance, literally up and down my driveway if I can get it to move. I don't have any parts for the clutch or the driveline or brakes, nothing like that whatsoever. I don't have, you know, any clutch master cylinder stuff, any slave cylinder stuff. My only plan right now is to dump a load of fluid into the clutch master cylinder, see if I can bleed it a little bit, see if I can get anything resembling a clutch pedal, and then if I can sit on the floor in amongst all that dirt and see if I can, like, yeah, go 20 feet in it. That's the extent of my ambitions here. Right, so, well, I'll be honest with you, I wasn't expecting that. It's completely full of probably some of the worst looking brake fluid I've ever used, but if it means I don't have to put any of mine in, I'm all for it. So I wonder if we've got anything resembling a clutch pedal. This is going to be my seat. Move some of this junk. Right. Let's take my phone out of my back pocket to see that my dad has texted me to say, would you like one of those old American pickups to do up? Yes, Dad. What? What a text message to receive. Dad, I'll call you in a minute. That sounds like fun. Oh no, am I going to go through the floor here? Right, have we got a clutch? No. No, we haven't. Nothing whatsoever. Oh, I'm looking for that bolt. That's for the air filter. Put that there. Right, how do you bleed this then? What size do you think that bleed nipple is? Do you reckon it's old money? Or do you reckon it's millennial? Yep, 11 mil. So it's been replaced. Right, that's enough of you. So that slave cylinder would have been replaced for sure. Oh no, what did I do? Oh yeah, okay. Oh, there's brake fluid absolutely hemorrhaging out of it. Right. I mean, that's actually pumping air and fluid out, believe it or not. But I'm not getting a pedal. Let's do you up. Anything? No, not a thing. Absolutely not. Not in a million years. Maybe that was the reason, probably not. Maybe that was the reason this car was initially parked up, and that's why that whole shroud's off and then it's gone missing, because they know they had to do the clutch slave. So, ladies and gentlemen, it very much looks as though that is, well, that is that. Come back. Hello. That looks like it, really. I think that's the end of the road for this car in my ownership. This is going to be a really nice, well, not really nice, who am I kidding? This is going to be a, you know, a parts car for someone. Hopefully someone will want it, make use out of it, especially now we know that this engine is, in fact, running. Listen to that. That's really smooth. If you've enjoyed watching me struggle out here in the heat, bringing this old girl back to life, I'd very much appreciate it if you'd hit subscribe. And if you enjoyed this video, it might well be the case. In fact, I'm almost certain you're going to enjoy this video right here too. Thanks for watching. See you soon.